had this. And we noticed two things here. Number one, that we were so blessed that these two attempts failed. They failed on their own. With all honesty, it is not because any one of us is smart. It just failed. Maybe Allah wanted to protect the country from such a chaotic situation like that. But it also tells us that the danger is very real and is here, and so far it is not securely contained. And that is really the issue that we need to talk about and to spend the time on. And let me tell you a few reflections that I think are very important for the people of America. And I want to state here, this is not a problem for the Muslims or of the Muslims. This is a problem for Americans. If it happens, it will hurt everybody. And to prevent it, we need the help of everybody. So trying to project it as a problem of the Muslims and there will be a backlash against Muslims or whatever is not accurate. It has some truth, but this is not the main problem, or at least this is not the angle where I am coming from, of finger pointing. Immediately, the first fingers are pointed towards the law enforcement. And I know that we have very respected members of the law enforcement in our audience today. And the finger pointing is usually saying not what they did, but what they didn't do or what they should have done. And it is usually concentrating on the gaps or the mishaps or the overlooks, etc., etc. And I imagine, and I underline imagine because I am not in the law enforcement, but still we are sharing the task together and we are all Americans. I imagine that their feeling can be how ungrateful people are. We are not sleeping in our homes, we are not spending time with our families, we are putting our life on harm's way, and all what we get is criticism. There is another voice that all praise, all congratulations, everything is nice and dandy. The problem between the two extremes is that none of them is completely true, and it ends up that the citizens are completely puzzled and confused, and this is the first step towards the fitna I'm talking about. When nobody sees clearly and everybody is either accusing or being accused, or accusing and being accused at the same time. The second finger pointing is towards the Muslim community. And again, and I have to admit gratefully and proudly that the official voices after that last incident did actually avoid the vulgarity of Islamic terrorism terminology. So we found that the government and the law enforcement talked about a person from Pakistan, about his background, etc., but it was not labeled by the officials as Islamic terrorism, a language that we are used to during the past 7 years or 8 years, as we know. Nonetheless, the non-official voices, the self-proclaimed experts, the people with special interests and special agenda, raised these voices, pointed fingers to the Muslims, and usually it is a whole range of things, from the ridiculous statement of why don't you condemn the terrorism, which I give it the correct description as ridiculous, to all the way, you should do this, you should do this, you should do that, why don't you go to the media, why don't you publish articles, and why don't you march in the streets demonstrating condemning terrorism. Individuals and safe from dangerous ideas that will destroy our constitution and our Bill of Rights. So we do all of that while we are insisting on protecting the civil liberties of every American, Muslim or non-Muslim, and of protecting the human rights of every human being in the world. We don't know how to start that. This is why I am calling, and I say it should be on record, hopefully it reaches someone who have the capacity or the ability to initiate that. If this calling goes in vain, by God's support and help, we are going to start it. Let some people smile and say who they think they are. We are a group of Americans opening our arms and our hearts to all fellow Americans and inviting them for a serious debate. And to be very honest, excluded from that debate all voices of hate, of superiority, Islamophobes, or anti-Semitics. Those do not belong to that endeavor. That endeavor should be the mainstream American. If the government takes over that, then the President of the United States should call for it. We should convene under his leadership. He should even assign a czar, like we had for the war against drugs or whatever, and we will be more than happy to work for it. If somebody less than that or other than that is serious about initiating it, we Muslims should work with him or with her. If nobody does, we will do it. And this is the way we should see ourselves. We are the carriers of the Quran that tells us that our job is to serve humanity through enjoining what is right and forbidding what's wrong. And we are the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has been sent as a mercy to human beings. And we are the group of Americans that did most to protect the country, so we can do it. And we should never look at ourselves as a fraction or as a small. With the dignity in us, وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and with the support of Allah, وَاللَّهُ غَالِبٌ عَلَىٰ أَمْرِهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah will dictate His order. Even most of the people don't know. So we proceed and we do it. We might be wobbly, we might be weak, we might not have enough funds, but we start, and Allah helps those who start. Allah don't help the ones who are sitting on the side, whining and weeping and crying. Help those who do the right thing. And as I said, وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Allah will support whoever supports His cause. Allah is mighty and strong. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the clarity of the vision, the sharpness of the mind, the courage of the heart, and the stamina to carry on His cause, the cause of justice, peace, and mercy. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us right on the straight path, and to bless our efforts, and to join us with righteous people from all over and from all walks to work together to make this country the way it ought to be. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our mistakes, our trespasses, and our shortcomings, and to guide us always to the truth. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا وتولنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. صلى الله عليه وسلم.